Imagine waking up on a summer day in 1348, standing in the heart of London. The city is buzzing with the sounds of life. Markets opening, people bustling through the streets, merchants shouting, horses clattering along the cobbled roads. It's an ordinary day in what seems like an eternal city, London. But little do its 50,000 inhabitants know. They're living their last normal day. Just a few miles away, across the English Channel, rumours are beginning to spread about a mysterious illness sweeping through France and Italy. People are starting to hear about mass graves, bodies piling up, entire towns emptied. But it's still just talk. That's a problem elsewhere, people say. It won't happen here, not in London. Today, everything seems as it always has been. People are waking up to a typical morning. The streets are alive with the sights and smells of a thriving medieval city. Wood smoke, bread baking, the stench of the Thames flowing beneath London Bridge. Yet within a few months, half of this city's population will be gone. But today is just another normal day in London. Scene 1. Billingsgate Wharf, the morning rush. The sun is just beginning to rise over the Thames, and the wharves at Billingsgate are already alive with activity. The air is thick with the smell of fish, salt water, and the faint scent of burning wood. Here, on the docks, is where London's money is made, importing wine, exporting wool, and keeping the wheels of the economy turning. Sailors, stevedores, and merchants work side by side. Some speak French, others Flemish, while the local English dock workers grunt in a mix of broken tongues. The sound of crates being moved and barges pulling up to the docks fills the air. A ship from Calais arrives, its crew talking loudly, gesturing toward the sickly rumours coming out of the continent. One sailor, speaking in hushed tones, tells those around him, "The sickness in France, it's spreading like wildfire. People are dying in just a few days." But it's not our problem. The locals shrug it off. Plagues happen elsewhere, they think. Life here on the wharf is as it always is, busy, chaotic, and dangerous. For the dock workers, a day's work means hauling heavy sacks of grain, unloading wine barrels, and earning just enough to survive. Their world is full of loud sounds, physical labour, and simple pleasures. A pint of ale, a loaf of coarse bread for a halfpenny. Scene 2. Cheapside Market, mid-morning. From the bustling docks, we move deeper into the heart of London's commerce, Cheapside Market. The streets are crammed with stalls, their timber frames groaning under the weight of goods: bread, cheese, cloth, and salted fish. Merchants are busy arguing over prices, but the noise is drowned out by the smell of freshly baked bread and roasted meat wafting from the stalls. The market is chaotic, with customers jostling to buy goods for the day's meals. The atmosphere is tense as inflation sets in. Prices of goods are rising, while wages remain tight. A chicken costs a penny, which is a small fortune for the common labourer who can barely make ends meet. At one corner, a constable drags a thief, a man who was caught stealing a loaf of bread, through the crowd. People watch as he is dragged toward the stocks, where his hands and head will be exposed to the crowd's mockery. The justice is swift, and public punishments are seen as part of the natural order. Scene 3. A merchant's house near St. Paul's. Across the city, in a more prosperous area near St. Paul's Cathedral, things feel different. Here, Wealthy merchants live in stone houses with glass windows, a luxury not seen in the working class quarters. The merchant's family enjoys a hearty midday meal of roasted pork, white bread, and wine from Gascony, imported to fuel the growing English economy. Outside, the city buzzes with the noise of commerce. But in this merchant's home, there's a sense of calm. They've heard the rumors of sickness in France and Flanders, but they dismiss it, thinking, it's a problem for port cities, not for us. The merchant reads a letter from Bruges, and though it warns of sickness in the villages, he is more concerned about the disruption in trade routes. For the wealthier class in London, plague is an issue for the poor. Disease doesn't threaten them. They have stone houses, good food, and wealth. But what they don't know is that the plague is coming, and soon nothing will stop it. Now we cross London Bridge, the only crossing over the Thames at this time, and head to Southwark, outside the city's protective walls. Southwark is rough and lawless. This district is full of unlicensed taverns, brothels, and bear-baiting pits. It's where the poor and marginalized live, in overcrowded tenements and in constant proximity to disease and death. The air here is thick with the smell of excrement, overflowing cesspits, and the stench of unwashed bodies. People live in cramped rooms with straw floors and little privacy. Typhus, dysentery, and other diseases spread rapidly in these conditions. Yet, life continues, and in the local taverns, arguments break out over dice games. A woman coughs deeply, and though those around her notice, no one dares to speak of it. The city has become numb to the constant illness that plagues its poor. Scene 5. St. Bartholomew's Hospital, late afternoon. In the more organised part of the city, St. Bartholomew's Hospital stands as a place of care, though far from what we would recognise today. The hospital, run by Augustinian monks, is filled with the sick, injured, and fevered. Labourers who broke their limbs in accidents, fevered women, and children with infections lie together on shared beds, awaiting whatever herbal remedies and prayers the monks can offer. They don't yet understand contagion. They still believe that bad air causes disease. The monk, praying over a dying sailor, hears his confession of seeing bodies piled up in the streets of Calais, with no one left to bury them. He prays, assuming it's God's judgment on the French. But what the monk doesn't know is that the plague is already making its way to London. The monk's faith, though strong, won't save the city. Scene 6. The Tower of London. Dusk. As night falls, we arrive at the imposing Tower of London, a fortress, a royal residence, and a place of political imprisonment. In the shadow of its walls, guards patrol, blacksmiths forge weapons, and scribes document taxes. Inside, political prisoners wait for their fate, while Henry VIII's war rages on, draining the city's wealth. But something far worse is coming. A messenger arrives, panting, reporting that the plague has reached the ports of Calais, Bordeaux, and Melcombe. Should they close the ports? If they do, London will starve. Merchants riot over the idea, but in the end, the decision is postponed. They can't stop what's coming. They can only wait. London after dark. The streets are quiet. As the sun sets, London quiets down. The curfew bells ring, and families lock their doors, huddling around their hearths for warmth. The streets are dark. No streetlights, just the flicker of torches from time to time. The sounds of the city quiet as thieves slip through the unlit lanes, and taverns fall silent, their voices fading into the night. As the camera pans over the empty streets, we hear murmurs of plague rumours. A merchant laughs off the idea of it coming to London, while a priest insists it's God's judgment. The uncertainty of the future lingers in the cool night air, and the Thames flows on, indifferent to the people of London. Tonight feels eternal. But by autumn, the first cases of the Black Death will appear in London. Soon, half the population will be gone, and the streets that are alive today will be eerily silent. This was London in 1348, alive, bustling, unaware of the coming storm. No one knew that in just a few months, death would arrive, sweeping through the city and claiming more lives than anyone could imagine. London, a city of life, would soon be a city of death. And for the people living here today, they had no idea that this would be the last normal day. The Black Death would change everything. Thank you for joining us on this journey through medieval London. Stay tuned for more historical reconstructions, where we uncover the hidden stories of cities and people on the brink of transformation. Scene 8. The first signs of the Black Death. Early warnings. As the days pass, the once bustling streets of London seem to grow quieter. The people who had crowded the markets, bustling on their daily errands, are now beginning to notice something unusual. Whispers spread like wildfire, first among the dockworkers, then among the merchants. The pestilence, as it is called by those who have heard of it, has begun to creep closer to London's shores. The first official signs of the plague arrive via ships from the continent, already dampened with the grim rumours. Sailors who arrive from Melcombe and Bordeaux speak of the countless bodies they passed, floating in the streets, covered in sores, their lives taken by a sickness no one can explain. The usual calls of merchants selling grain and spices turn into hushed voices of fear and confusion. Inside the city gates, the frenzied discussions grow louder. Could it happen here? People begin to distance themselves from anyone who coughs or sneezes. A merchant drops his cargo of silk at the dock when he hears that a sailor has fallen ill aboard a neighbouring ship. Fear spreads faster than the disease itself. It's in the air. People are starting to believe the Black Death is closer than anyone could have imagined. In this section of the reconstruction, the camera will show the crowded market square slowly becoming more disorganized, with fewer people working the stalls, some hurrying away to their homes in a rush to avoid contact. As news of the plague's advance reaches more corners of the city, we see people clutching at their rosaries, praying for protection and guidance. The once bustling, carefree life in London has begun to turn. Scene 9. Fear spreads. The city's response to the Black Death. As the Black Death begins to loom over the city, fear runs rampant. City officials convene, trying to come up with a strategy to prevent the disease from spreading, but there is little they can do. Quarantine measures are discussed, but never fully implemented due to the high traffic of people moving through London, both from the port and from the countryside. Merchants and travellers continue to enter, trading goods and sharing information. The camera follows a group of city officials walking through the open-air market and attempting to control the masses. They order the public burning of goods that might have been contaminated, but the local merchants, already struggling with inflation, protest the measure. Some fearful citizens start burying their loved ones prematurely, wrongly believing that the dead must be disposed of quickly to stop the spread. A doctor, his face hidden by a wide-brimmed mask, walks past, his hands clutching his leather gloves and the herbal concoction he carries to ward off disease. The camera zooms in on his mask, which is filled with sweet herbs, meant to filter the air and protect from bad vapors, the current theory on what spreads the disease. Yet, despite their efforts, the plague's progression cannot be stopped. The ominous silence in the streets grows as families lock themselves inside their homes, hoping to avoid contact. Scene 10. The toll of the Black Death. The first deaths in the streets. By the end of the month, the plague has arrived. It begins to claim its victims quickly and without warning. First the merchant, then the baker, and soon the entire neighborhood feels the weight of the disease. The buboes, painful, swollen lumps, begin to appear on the necks, armpits, and groins of victims. They die within hours of feeling the first symptoms, which include fever, chills, and a terrible headache. Those who survive the first few days may be marked by a blackening of the skin, a sure sign that their body is being consumed by the disease. The streets are filled with bodies, disproportionately young and healthy, many of whom are the city's workforce. The cries of the dying fill the alleys, and soon there are too many bodies to be buried properly. The plague carts rumble through the city, their drivers calling out to those who are left, gathering the dead in their wake. The camera captures the chaotic rush, people in a panic, fighting for their lives. At the Church of St. Paul's, a priest hurriedly prays over the dead, his words barely audible as mourners gather, unsure of what will come next. There is no time for proper burial, just a rush to dispose of the bodies. In the graveyards, families tear at the earth, trying to bury their loved ones before the disease can take them too. Scene 11. The impact on the working class. Desperation in the streets. While the elite of London huddle in their stone houses, safe from the immediate chaos, the working class bears the brunt of the plague's wrath. The poor live in overcrowded neighborhoods, packed together in homes with little ventilation or sanitation. They are the first to be affected by the disease. In these parts of London, the growing number of deaths is matched only by the desperation of the living. With the markets emptying, the lack of food becomes another crisis. The poor are forced to flee the city, trying to reach the countryside, where they hope to find some refuge from the plague. But as they travel, they spread the disease even further, taking their fear and panic to the rural villages. We follow a family of labourers, carrying what little food they can, moving towards the gates of London, praying that they can reach the safety of the countryside. But further outbreaks follow them, and soon, the plague is a nationwide problem, touching every corner of England, no place remaining untouched. Scene 12. London's social and economic collapse. As the plague grips London, the social fabric of the city begins to fall apart. The economic system starts to crumble as workers die or flee the city in mass numbers. The business owners and landlords scramble to protect their wealth, but they too are struck by the devastating effects of the disease. With markets disrupted and trading halted, London begins to feel the absence of its workforce. Factories close, streets remain empty, and there is a growing fear of returning to normal. The city's economy falters as the most important labor force, farmers, merchants, artisans, disappears almost overnight. The nobles, who once ruled over vast estates, are also hit hard. Towns and villages are abandoned as their inhabitants leave in search of safety. The camera shows the desolation that strikes after the panic. Families who were once thriving in the city are now trapped in the epidemic's wake, with no place to turn. Scene 13. The beginning of the end. The plague's lasting mark on London. As weeks pass, London becomes a ghost town. The once bustling streets are now eerily quiet. Shops remain shut, and the sounds of market trading and chatter are replaced by the silence of death. The Black Death has swept through, taking lives indiscriminately, leaving the city scarred. The camera captures the abandoned homes, the shuttered windows, and the empty streets. A once vibrant city has now become a reminder of the fragility of human life. A blank canvas upon which time has etched a devastating mark. For those who survive, the world will never be the same. The Black Death is a turning point in history, altering not only the lives of Londoners, but the entire trajectory of Europe. The survivors will rebuild, but they will rebuild a city forever changed. As we end our journey through 1348 London, we are left to reflect on the devastation that the Black Death brought. The city that was once vibrant and full of life has now been marked by one of the deadliest pandemics in human history. The survivors, though few, will go on to rebuild, but it will be a new London, a city with a new understanding of life, a city forever altered by the shadows of death that once walked its streets. And the Black Death, while it wiped out half the population of Europe, also laid the groundwork for social and economic change that would resonate for generations. This is a reminder that history is often shaped by catastrophic events, but from the ashes of destruction, society can rebuild and evolve. London's story, just like the stories of many cities, will continue, evolving as it always has. But for those who lived in 1348, this was the end of one world and the beginning of another.